Stampers, welcome. I'm Pet Fairless from Fairless Stampin Flair, and I have a fun fold I'm going to share with you today. This week I am using the Scenic Coast or Sunset Coast stamp set. Actually, it's the Scenic Coast suite of products. Um, I love it. It's so pretty. And I made a fun fold for my um, blog post tomorrow, which will also be here on my Facebook page as well. If you're watching it on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, you can see the links to take you to my other locations. Patricia, it's actually fairlessstampinflair.com is my blog. And then the Facebook page is also Fairless Stampin Flair. So let's flip the camera down and I'll show you the card that'll be on there tomorrow. I like to do these videos to show things that are kind of hard for me to explain in my tutorials. I do my best as I can in the tutorial to explain things, but sometimes it's just easier to show you. So this is the fun fold, and it doesn't look like a fun fold here on the front, but it does have some watercoloring technique on here that I learned actually in the class that they held for the Scenic Coast suite of products. And you can still get the class, but they taught us how to do, one of the cards did this watercoloring, and I thought it was so pretty, so I used some different colors for this card. But let's open it up and show you what we're going to create today. Now, I'm not going to create this card. This card is a bit over the top. And if I were to do this on a video, we would probably be here for hours. Not because it's hard, but just because when you see the inside, you'll see there's a lot of detail. It just takes time. But this is the fun fold. I call it an inside fun fold. I don't know if it has a name. I've made one very similar to this previously. I can't remember if I did a video on it, but my four little elements, I'll call them, or they're almost like four different focal points, were much smaller. So this one, they're larger. You could also put photos of somebody on here and make it like a little brag book, which could be fun. But I decided I'm going to try to use as many of the dies as I could from the Sunset Coast stamp set or bundle. And you can see here, I can show you the dies. I used a lot of these. I don't know that I actually used every one. I didn't use every one, but I was trying to use some of these smaller ones that I hadn't really used much. So I used the lighthouse, and you can see it cuts a circle, but then you can snip that circle part off and it'll just leave you with the lighthouse and the rocks, which is fun. And there's a couple of sailboats that coordinate to stamps. There's some birds, little seashells, a couple little fences here. And I love this little net, fishing net. It's cute. Clouds. There's a sun. And I didn't use the other larger ones. You'll see those on other cards on my website. This is the stamps that come with it. And I did not use many of the stamps. I used The Adventure Continues and Happy Retirement. This is actually a retirement card, but you're probably seeing this and thinking, well, where is any place where she doesn't say retirement? Well, if you flip to the back, there's a pocket on the back made with designer series paper, and then this little pocket is where you write your message. So here I use some more of the birds and a couple of the seashells. These are kind of left over from the inside, so I decided to use them. But it's a great way to give you a little more space to write a message. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a close-up on each of these just so you can see the elements if you're looking at the post and you want to see things a little more closely. There are pictures of close-ups of each of them, but here I use the net, the seashells, and the fence. The stars were from a stamp set or I should say dies, that I had that have been long since retired, but I kind of wanted some little ones. I have punches. I would just say if you're going to try to make this, just use whatever you have. Here I used the sailboat and did some blending to make the sky and the water. And then on these last two over here, I actually used scraps of the sunset or scenic coast. One's sunset coast, one is scenic coast. The paper is scenic coast. I just used some scraps to make these and tore the tops and added a little ink with a sponge dauber. And I thought they turned out really pretty. So I was very happy with this card, and I'm going to send it to somebody special. This is the tutorial that is on the website that you can download for free. Don't let it scare you. It is long, and based on this, you can see why it would be too long to do in a video. But we are going to do the fun fold part of it. And for that today, I'm just going to use designer series paper. So I'm going to show you a way to make this same fun fold quick and easy. Okay, so I'm going to use the beautiful gallery designer series paper. It's been out for a while. It has a lot of different florals. It actually has a wide variety of things, different scenes. I have very little of it left. But the main thing we want to figure out how to do is this fun fold portion on the inside. So let's start with that, and then we've got quick and simple assembly. So we have here a piece of cardstock that is 11 inches by 1 3/4, and we're going to score that. So I'll get this here. And we're going to score it at 2 3/4. Make sure I get my cutter out of my way. 5 1/2. And 8 1/4. So I need to open my arm for the 8 1/4 one and score that. And that's all the scoring there is. Now this we're going to fold it in half, and then fold the 2 flaps in. Okay, and I'm going to give them a burnish with my bone folder. And I got some cutting edges. I'll just hit those two. And it so kind of makes a W, right? That's what you're ending up with. And the next thing is just to start assembling the elements. So it really is a very easy fun fold card. And let's, I'm going to put the front on first, or at least the front panel. I have basic beige here, and this is basic gray. The hardest part about this one was I couldn't figure out which designer series paper I wanted to use. And then once I did, and I'm like, oh, it's a good way to use up some of my beautiful gallery that I've been hoarding. Then I had a hard time picking out colors that I felt went well with all the pieces that I had left. So this is one of the big flower pots. I had to cut it down. Broke my heart to have to cut it down, but I had to cut it down. And then on the inside, we are going to put a couple of other pieces from the same suite, or I shouldn't call it a suite. It's, I think Beautiful Gallery actually probably was a suite. But the designer series paper, last I checked about a week ago, was still available. So you can see this is another example of what's on the back. So I wanted something that wouldn't detract from my 4 focal points. So we're just gonna adhere this to the inside. And you wouldn't have to do this. I don't think when I made these smaller focal points, I don't think I put designer series paper on the inside, but it kind of dresses it up a little bit. And depending on what your focal point is, that can help decide if you want a little more lively designer paper, or like I chose something that's kind of just a nice background. Okay, so now let's show you how to put this on. And if you've cut everything right, the center score line here will line up with the fold in your card. This is cut at 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. So it's your standard A2 size card. And if you cut everything correctly, it should lay flat and the outsides should line up. How much easier does that get, right? So I'm going to use, actually here, I'm going to use liquid adhesive, because this is going to take some bending and load, so you want to use a nice strong adhesive. You could use tear and tape. And then just line up this edge with the outside edge of your card. And I'm going to put mine approximately, I'm just eyeballing it in the center, and you're going to adhere that whole piece down. Okay. Now, if you haven't cut it exactly the way you want, and if you're sticking out when it lays flat, you do want it to be able to lay flat. So if you're off a little bit, just trim it. And then I'll show you, which will kind of possibly affect the alignment of where you scored. So I would check it before you score. Now you can either fold this and close this over top, or everything should just line up. If this is lining up in the center, then this should line up on this side, and just press it down. Now the thing you want to make sure of, you don't get any adhesive here in the center, because that's where you want it to pop out. All right, now I made 4 little elements here with different designer paper, and I'm just going to lay these in one of each of these sections, and I'm going to put mine on with dimensionals. You don't have to. What did I do on this card? Did I put them on with dimensionals? I actually did not. So let's not put them on with dimensionals. This card does get a little bit bulky anyway. So, and these are just slightly narrower than the strip or the fold. So when you put your adhesive on, keep it away from the edges. Because you don't want it just, you want to make sure your card will easily open and close, and then just center it vertically. And we'll just do that with all 4 of them. And then I'll show you how to make your back little pocket card. And here my next one, again, I'm just centering it within those 2 scored fold areas. Now, the one thing I didn't show you is how to put the ribbon on, because I forgot. So I'm going to think about this. I'm going to wrap it around the back and put it behind there. And you know what? I didn't even grab any ribbon. So we're going to have to go find some ribbon. I always forget something, no matter how many times I run through it in my head. I can forget something. This time I forgot to get the ribbon. So we'll just grab some simple ribbon from my stash. Oh, that slid. We don't want to do that. That's the good thing about liquid adhesive, is you have some time to adjust. And there we go. With the card that's on the website, I put the ribbon between this mechanism and the card. Okay, that's where I adhered two ends, and then you can tie it closed. But since I forgot to do that, we will just grab, oh, we tried this one. It'll work. It's got a little sparkle. So I'm just going to take this and close this, and you can do this either way. It doesn't matter. The other way was just what I did. It takes a little less ribbon because you don't go all the way around the card. And I'm going to leave this plenty long so that I can easily tie my bow. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll just pull this so these ends are about equal here. I've got plenty, I think, so, and then we'll flip it over, and I'm just going to hold this in place approximately in the center with a little bit of Scotch tape. I'll use my snail and put it under the ribbon, but this is just as easy. That way I won't forget to put it in before I put my pocket on the back, right? It's not super straight, but it doesn't matter. It'll wrap around just fine. Okay. So let's go ahead and make our pocket card. And I took a different design. I wanted this back one to kind of go with gray on the front. So this is this design on the other side, which I did use on this card right here. I used a lot of all different designs. So you could just use a piece of designer series paper on the back, which is what I did on this card. I just used designer paper and then I decorated that. Here I'm going to use a matte. I thought I'd try it just a little differently. Either way is fine. It's just a design choice really in my case. I had a matte on the front, so I decided I wanted a matte on the back. Now, do I want the dark on the bottom or the light? I guess I'm going to put the light. Now we need a little finger grab here to get a hold of our pocket card. So I'm just going to take a circle punch. This is a 1 7/8. You can use whatever you have. And eyeball it in the center. So I'm going to punch 2 layers. It should, yeah. Okay. Now we can adhere this to the back of the card. And it is important to keep your adhesive out as far as you can. And again, you could use tear and tape. I'm just going to use liquid. And I'm trying to get it close to the edge. And we're just going to go down the sides and across the bottom. Obviously, we don't want any on the top or we won't get our pocket card in there. And I may have gotten plenty on here. And we'll just add that to the back. And I'm going to hold it there a second because I got this ribbon under there, right? So I want it to stick. All right, so here's our pocket card. This is a little bit smaller, so you can see you've got a little bit of room for adhesive, and the dimensions are all on the tutorial. And to decorate this, let's just add another piece of designer series paper along one side, just so it's not totally plain. And I made it a little longer than I need it, so where do I want it? I'm gonna put it right about there. I'll get it up against the edge. Sometimes I leave a little gap. Sometimes I put it on the edge. What do you guys do if you use a decorative strip? Do you put it right on the edge? Do you put it on the left side or the right side? I see some that just always put it on the right side. I don't, there's no right, no wrong. I think it's just how our brains work, right? My brain works to start on the left and work to the right. It's one of those very logical brains and not a very artsy brain. And I'm going to leave this sentiment free so I can just write a note. I could certainly stamp a sentiment. But I do like to put just a little snippet. Let's cut this off. We can put a little snippet here. Now, I'm not sure this is the best ribbon to do this because it is a little bit, it will ravel. But let's just try to get it in the opening. It just helps people see where they have to grab the card. And it doesn't have to be long. And then you can just take a stapler and get it in there if you can. I'm going to come from the side and see if I can get it. Yeah. And just grab it near the top and staple through that. Now, in this case, I'm going to probably trim this a little bit because it did fray, and I don't need it that long. I should use my ribbon scissors. Even they don't like the end. And there we go. I would recommend using ribbon that doesn't fray if you're going to do that. You could also take a little piece of cardstock and just flip that over the edge. That probably would have been a better choice for this card. But at least now they can see where to grab it, right? So now this is going to come and cover the front of my card, but that's okay. We're still going to tie it way over here out on the edge, and I'll just put my sentiment so it kind of covers this part of the ribbon. So I'm not good at bows, and these get tied and untied so many times. That's to open them, so I want it to be long. And we'll just pin those pretty at the end, and that works. That's a pretty good ribbon for this basic beige, I think. And I'm going to keep this a little bit low because I don't want to cover up too much of my flowers. So let's just put this on with some dimensionals. I'm going to try to keep it off from where the ribbon is, so the ribbon kind of goes behind it. And we'll just put a little one up here, and then the ribbon can come through here. I feel like I keep pulling over here to work. I hope I didn't do that the whole time. Okay. So I'm going to keep it low. And there we go. This is made with the hot foiling system, and I used, oh, I forget what they're called. Oh, here they are. I know I pulled them out. Classic Greeting Hot Foil, and it makes these 5 different greetings. 5, celebrate, thinking of you, thank you, get well, and happy birthday. And then there's dies that cut that out, and that's how you get the backing. And I did mine on very vanilla cardstock. As I said in a video when I showed how to use the hot foil system a couple weeks ago, smoother cardstock tends to work better. It will work on any cardstock, but you'll get a crisper impression, I guess we'll call it. The foiling gets crisper. So there we go. That is the simple version of this card. And what I really wanted to show you was the how to put the fun fold portion together. So I think the simple version did that, and it's still a beautiful card, right? If you're concerned about it, I'd suggest maybe take some scrap paper first and try to make one, but it's actually pretty simple, as I think you can see. So let's flip this back. Oh, excuse me. Need a drink of water, I think. All right. We made it. And I got this on both of these, so what am I doing wrong here? There we go. Oh, last couple weeks I've had trouble with clicking on the right things. I don't know why. Some weeks my brain just doesn't work that good, I guess. I don't know. But I hope it was clear how to make that fun fold. That was my goal. The goal wasn't really to show you how to make a whole card, complete card, although we did. But it was kind of nice to, if you see the one on the website or on the Facebook page tomorrow, you might say, oh man, that's too over the top. I don't do those kind of cards. So I hope you'll watch the video when you see how simple you can make it. And you do you. So thank you for watching. If you learned something or you thought it was helpful, how about a thumbs up? I'd love that. And subscribe to my channel. That'd be great. I try to do one video a week. And it's usually to teach you maybe something you haven't done before. Not hard things, but just maybe something new, as opposed to just making a card for you or making a stack of cards. So I try to keep them short. So I hope this was helpful, and we will see you next week with something else. And until then, God bless. Have a great weekend and take care. Bye-bye.